Tonight you find yourself beside a northern fjord. The water rests between dark mountains, and the sky above moves slowly, carrying soft light across the night. This place belongs to the people of the northern coasts, living more than 1,000 years ago, during the time we now call the Viking Age. Most were not raiders, but farmers, fishers, builders and travelers, shaped by the land and the water around them. Their lives followed the rhythm of the seasons, the movement of the fjord, and the quiet knowledge passed from one generation to the next. The land opens gently toward the water, and the sound of the world becomes soft and distant. The air is cool here. It moves slowly across your skin, carrying the scent of pine, cold stone and water that has traveled a long way through the mountains. You can hear the fjord before you see it. A quiet movement, a gentle touch of water against the shore. There is no rush in the sound. It rises and fades in a calm, steady rhythm, like breathing that belongs to the land itself. You don't need to imagine anything. You don't need to follow a path or hold a thought. Just let the scene settle around you, the way the night settles across the earth, slowly and without effort. Long before roads and lights reached this place, people followed the shape of the coast and the pull of the water. They moved along the shoreline in small wooden boats, guiding themselves between tall walls of stone shaped by ice, wind and time. The fjord opened in front of them like a long, quiet passage, leading inward from the wide and restless sea toward the shelter of the mountains. Each turn of the water revealed another curve of land, another stretch of dark shoreline, another place where trees leaned gently toward the fjord as if listening to it. They came for the cold, clear water that carried fish through its depths, moving in slow and unseen paths beneath the surface. They came for the forests that grew along the slopes above the shore, where tall trees offered wood for fire, for shelter, and for the small tools of daily life. They came for the way the mountains broke the wind and held back the strongest storms that traveled in from the open water. The fjord was not a single place. It was a path. A connection between one quiet settlement and the next, between one small fire and another glowing somewhere beyond the bend of the shore. Even now you can feel that sense of movement in the air around you. The water is never fully still. It shifts gently, guided by the shape of the land and the quiet pull of the moon above. Small ripples move across the surface, catching faint traces of light from the sky before fading back into darkness. Along the shoreline, smooth stones rest where the water leaves them. Some are dark and wet, reflecting the pale colors of the night. Some are dry and light, warmed slightly by what little warmth remains in the air. Farther along the shore, pieces of driftwood lie scattered near the edge of the trees. They have traveled a long way to reach this place, carried by distant currents, turned slowly by waves, left behind when the water decided to move on without them. The land here holds these small signs of passing time quietly, without drawing attention to them. Ahead, small wooden homes rest near the line where trees meet open ground. Their walls are built from timber cut by hand and fitted together slowly, piece by piece, with care that shows in every corner and edge. Their roofs are layered with wood, grass and earth, shaped to hold in warmth and turn away rain, snow and the long breath of the wind. At night a soft glow comes from small openings near the doors and along the sides of the walls. Not bright, not sharp, just enough to let the dark remain gentle. The light spills outward and fades quickly, leaving the space beyond the homes quiet and calm once again. You can pause here for a moment. The fjord stretches forward, a long ribbon of dark water between the mountains. The slopes rise on either side, covered in trees that stand close together, their tops moving slowly in the night wind. Somewhere in the distance, water moves over stone. It is a quiet sound. Easy to miss. Easy to forget. Above the trees, the sky drifts at its own pace, carrying faint ribbons of green and pale blue light across the stars. The colors move slowly. The fjord has always been more than water. For the people who live here, it is a path. It carries boats between distant shores and hidden inlets, where the land curves inward and forms small, quiet bays that rest out of sight from the wider sea. Long before markers or maps reached this place, movement followed the shape of the coastline and the gentle pull of the current. Small wooden boats glided across the surface, their hulls shaped carefully to move through cold water without fighting against it. Oars touched the fjord softly, not to break the surface, just to guide it. The sound they made was light and brief, fading almost as soon as it appeared. Each journey was guided by the land itself. A tall stone near the water's edge, a cluster of trees that leaned slightly toward the shore, a bend in the fjord where the mountains opened just enough to reveal another stretch of dark water beyond. Even now, the fjord holds that same sense of direction. The water shifts gently, guided by the shape of the land and the quiet pull of the moon above. Small ripples move across the surface, catching faint traces of green and pale blue light from the sky before fading back into darkness. Along the shoreline, smooth stones rest where the water leaves them. Some are dark and wet, reflecting the colors of the night. Some are dry and pale, holding the cool air of the evening against their surfaces. Farther along the shore, pieces of driftwood lie scattered near the edge of the trees. They have traveled a long way to reach this place. Carried by distant currents, turned slowly by waves, left behind when the water decided to move on without them. Near the water, shallow pools gather between the stones. They hold still reflections of the sky above, small and quiet mirrors that fade when the surface moves again. The fjord gives. The fjord takes. And everything here learns, in time, to move with it. Near the line where trees meet open ground, small wooden homes rest close to the water. Their walls are built from timber cut by hand and fitted together slowly, piece by piece, with care that shows in every corner and edge. The wood is darkened by years of wind and rain. The surface is smooth where many hands have passed over it, carrying water, tools, and bundles of firewood through the doorway. Their roofs are layered with wood, grass, and earth, shaped to hold in warmth and turn away the long breath of the wind. In winter, snow gathers along the edges. In summer, rain slides quietly down the sloped surfaces and returns to the soil below. At night, a soft glow comes from small openings near the doors and along the sides of the walls. Not bright, not sharp, just enough to let the dark remain gentle. The light spills outward and fades quickly, leaving the space beyond the homes calm and still once more. Narrow paths wind between the houses. The ground there is smooth from many quiet footsteps, pressed down over years of daily movement. During the day, these paths carry the sounds of work. Footsteps. Voices. The soft strike of tools against wood and stone. At night, the paths rest. Small bundles of firewood are stacked near each doorway, ready to be carried inside when the air grows colder. Clay jars sit along the walls, holding grain, dried herbs, and small pieces of food saved for the days ahead. Simple tools hang from wooden pegs. A knife used for carving. A hook used for fishing. a hammer shaped to fit the hand that lifts it each day. The homes sit close together, not only for shelter, but for comfort. Warmth moves more easily when it is shared. Voices carry softly from one doorway to the next. The settlement feels less like many small places, and more like one quiet, steady presence along the shore. Inside the longhouse, the space opens wide and low. A single fire rests at the center of the room, held in place by a ring of stone that has darkened with age and heat. Its light moves slowly across the wooden walls, across the beams above, and across the tools that hang quietly along the sides of the space. Shadows stretch and fall, then stretch again, following the soft movement of the flame. Along the sides of the room, simple beds are built from timber and layered with furs and woven cloth. There are no walls between one resting place and the next. Only quiet space. Only shared warmth. People lie close together. Not from crowding, but from comfort. The fire is never allowed to fade completely. Someone always wakes during the night to tend it. A small piece of wood is added. The embers are moved gently, sending a brief glow across the room before settling back into a steady, low light. The warmth spreads outward, reaching every corner of the space. Near the walls, low benches hold simple bowls and cups carved from wood and stone. They are set aside after the evening meal, waiting quietly for the morning. A kettle rests near the edge of the fire, its surface darkened by years of heat and use. Inside it, water warms slowly, sending a thin trail of steam upward into the air. The sound it makes is soft, barely more than a whisper. Along one wall, a small collection of tools hangs from wooden pegs. A knife shaped to fit the hand that uses it each day. A hook for lifting nets from the water. A smooth stone used for sharpening edges that have grown dull with work. These tools are simple, but they are chosen carefully. Each one has a place. Each one returns to the same peg at the end of the day. Near the doorway, a cloak hangs from a beam, its fabric moving slightly as warm air rises and drifts toward the roof. Boots are set side by side beneath it, their leather marked by wet ground and long paths along the shore. A small basket rests nearby, filled with scraps of cloth and loose thread, waiting to be mended when morning light returns. The door itself is heavy and thick, built from wide planks of wood bound together with iron bands. It holds back the wind, the cold, and the long breath of the night outside. The floor beneath you is packed earth, smooth in places where many feet have passed over it day after day. Small marks and shallow lines remain where tools were set down, where wood was split, where water was spilled and then dried again. These signs are not cleaned away. They are allowed to remain, becoming part of the quiet story of the place. Breathing slows. The fire settles. The room grows still. Outside, the wind moves across the roof in a steady and patient rhythm. The night continues on its quiet path. Outside, near the narrow path that leads down toward the water, 3 old stones stand in a small clearing. They are not tall. They are not shaped carefully. They are simply there. Some are marked with simple lines carved long ago, their edges softened by rain, wind, and the slow passing of years. Some are left smooth, shaped only by the weather and the quiet work of time. No one remembers who placed them here. They have always stood in this place, watching the water move and the sky change above them. The fog drifts slowly between the stones, moving like a soft veil across the ground. It gathers near their bases and then thins, carried gently by the night air toward the edge of the fjord. Light from the sky touches their surfaces and fades, leaving them dark and quiet once more. The stones remain. Beyond them, the fjord stretches outward, long and dark and calm. The water moves in slow, steady patterns along the shore. Small waves reach the edge of the land and fall back again, leaving thin lines in the sand and soil that disappear almost as soon as they form. The sound is soft, easy to miss, easy to forget, but it never truly stops. Near the water, shallow pools gather between the stones. They hold small reflections of the sky above, quiet mirrors that soften and fade when the surface moves again. Farther along the shore, the outlines of the homes rest against the trees, their shapes softened by distance and the low light of the night. A single window glows faintly, then dims as someone inside moves past the fire. The light does not linger. It passes and fades. The night air carries the scent of water, trees, and distant stone. It moves through the clearing, past the stones, and along the curve of the fjord as it disappears into the dark. Somewhere far away, a bird calls once, then falls silent again. The sound drifts across the water and fades. The sky above continues its slow movement. Faint ribbons of pale green and blue light appear, soften, and vanish among the stars. The mountains stand steady beneath them, dark shapes against the lighter sky. Nothing here asks for attention. Nothing here needs to be followed. Everything simply remains. Tonight, you do not need to remember any of this. You do not need to follow the paths. You do not need to learn the signs of the wind or the water. The fjord will hold the story for you. The mountains will keep their place. The sky will continue to move slowly above it all. Inside the longhouse, the fire settles into a low, steady glow. Breathing becomes slow. The room grows still. Outside, the water touches the shore in quiet patterns. The fog moves gently between the stones near the path. The light in the sky fades and returns in soft waves. Everything remains. Small ripples move across the surface of the fjord and fade again into the dark. The night air drifts through the trees and over the water, carrying the quiet forward without effort. Somewhere beyond the bend of the shore, another small fire glows softly in the distance. Its light is faint, easy to miss, but steady. It marks another place where people rest beside the water, listening to the same wind, watching the same slow movement of the sky. The fjord connects these quiet places, one shore to another, one night to the next. The water carries small reflections of distant light, stretching them into thin lines that move and fade. The wind moves through the trees, touching leaves and branches, then passing on. Nothing is held for long. Everything moves. And yet everything remains. As this calm moment settles, another waits just beyond it. Another quiet stretch of water. Another slow movement of light in the sky. Another small story carried gently by the wind and the water. Drifting forward. Just beyond the edge of the fjord,